If you've been around my channel for a while now, and if you have, thanks for that, you're probably aware that I'm not much of a fan of most modern movies or TV shows. It's not because I'm some curmudgeon that hates everything. On the contrary. Truth is, I'm a Pollyanna that really does want to enjoy things. My problem is that I'm not an idiot, so terrible things aren't very entertaining for me, and I'm pretty outspoken about that.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
And nothing gets my negative attention faster than seeing creatives toss out stupid modern buzzwords when hyping their projects. Diversity, equity, inclusion, marginalized groups, being seen, social consciousness, representation, addressing past wrongs, privilege, the global market, amplifying underrepresented voices, ESG and CEI scores. But the phrase that chaps my ass the most is subverting expectations. Ugh. This used to be tossed out by bands that were maybe going to try something a little different on their third album, like maybe adding a little sitar this time, and they wanted to get their fans ready. Today, it's tossed out by movie and TV hacks who plan on destroying known franchises and beloved characters, and they think by saying this up front, fans will think it's cool rather than what it is, which is just disrespectful and destructive. So what a refreshing surprise to find that the creative team behind Netflix's Extraction 2 starring Chris Hemsworth had no intention of doing that, and instead decided that meeting and surpassing the audience's expectations might just be the better path. Who knew? Extraction 2 begins even before we left off the first movie. We pick up with Tyler Rake and his team in the gunfight on the bridge in Bangladesh and a near fatally wounded Rake falling off the bridge and into the river below. But this time we see him wash up on shore and rescued and choppered to the UAE to a hospital where he remains in a coma for months. When he finally wakes up, he's a shell of his former self. Weakened, going through rehab, and mad that he was even saved. When he's finally released, his partner Nick and her brother Yaz bring him to a cabin in Austria to finish recuperating for what seems like his retirement. Soon, though, a shadowy figure shows up at his cabin played by Idris Elba, who offers him a new job. And this is one that Rake can't turn down, even in his current state. Rake's ex-wife has called on him to attempt to save her sister, Kedivin, who is married to a Georgian crime lord, David, and is currently being held in prison with her husband and her 2 kids. Elba lays out the story for Rake, telling us rather than showing us, unfortunately, though that's clearly done to speed up the runtime, so I'll allow it. Rake's ex-sister-in-law is married to one of 2 brothers, David and Zurab Radiani, who have become the leaders of a billion-dollar heroin and weapons operation. They basically run the country. The wife and kids are being held in prison with the husband so that he can have them near him, and obviously the wife wants no part of this for her or her kids. Elba tells Rake the job, which is extracting the sister-in-law and her 2 kids, starts in 6 weeks, and gives him the standard "should you accept this mission" speech. Elba leaves, and we then get a wonderfully nostalgic training montage of Rake getting back into fighting form, which has all the notes of Rocky IV, but without the 80s soundtrack behind it. It's really a great update. And from that point, we're off. Like the first movie, this isn't Chinatown, but it doesn't need to be, and it isn't trying to be. It's a straightforward shoot-'em-up action movie, and it excels at what it is. It also clearly knows what worked well the first movie, and it leans into that harder here. In the first movie, we were treated to an exceptional 10-plus minute fight and car chase scene, which was shot to give the appearance of being done in one shot. It's a true highlight of the first movie. Here, we double that to over 20 minutes, beginning with Rake extracting the woman and kids from their prison cell, through that brutal prison riot fight scene you've seen in the trailer, through more car chases, and culminating in an actual train wreck, all shot to look like one shot with no cuts. It's one of the best shot action sequences you'll find, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. I said it in the previous review about the first movie, and I'll say it again here because it really bears repeating. Hemsworth once again carries this movie. He's in virtually every scene, and when he isn't, the movie suffers for his absence. We've all seen him become Thor over the last decade, but the guy is capable of being so much more than that. He's clearly a competent action star that can play that role more seriously as he does in this franchise, but he's also got the chops to do comedy. And sure, his unfortunate looks would probably make it difficult for him to do any sort of chick flick romantic type movies, but the depth he shows here in his scenes when he's thinking about his son or talking to his ex-wife near the end of the movie show that he could probably swing dramas as well. Hopefully the guy walks away from the shitfest that is the remnants of the failing MCU so he can do some other things. He really is that good. The rest of the cast is fine, but are really just supporting roles. The actress that plays Nick is solid again, as is the actor that plays Zurab, Rake's adversary this go-round. I'd mention them by name, but there is no possible chance I'm going to pronounce their names correctly, so rather than butchering them, here they are. This movie is all about the action scenes and incredible set pieces. At one point, Rake is on top of a moving train with a helicopter about 20 feet away, flying backwards. The best part? All of that shit was real. None of that was green screened or CGI. Did I mention that it was actually below zero when they filmed it? Same goes for most of the action sequences in the movie. Remember that fight in the prison yard where Hemsworth is throwing punches on fire? Yeah, that was actual fire, not CGI. Shooting was done on location, again, and it shows, this time in Prague in the Czech Republic and in Vienna, Austria. It is crazy how obvious it is when things aren't shot on green screen or that horrific thing Disney now uses called the volume. There's a real world out there, people. It's totally cool if you place actors in it and point cameras at them. Really. Finally, as a child of the 80s, it is hard not to compare a gloriously fun action flick like this to the greatest of the genre from then. Hell, Netflix even seems to get this, and they put out a surprisingly funny little promotional bit for a new Schwarzenegger show, as well as Extraction 2 that featured Arnold and Hemsworth in an elevator at Netflix headquarters discussing their projects. Arnold, of course, spends most of the ride suggesting catchphrases for Hemsworth after he kills guys. The best part is that they have Hemsworth play along, while at the same time acknowledging that's not really where we are now. It doesn't denigrate those older movies or actors and therefore the fans that love them, because the same fans are likely the target for Extraction 2. I think the same goes for the filmmakers here. There's clearly a deep love for those movies and also a desire to make this new generation of action movies a little more grounded, with a little more weight, while at the same time keeping what made them so much damn fun. And yeah, Netflix clearly has plans to keep sending Tyler Rake on missions if the ending is any indication. And even better, it looks like there are plans to bring the mysterious Idris Elba character into the fold, which can only make things better, given the few minutes he and Hemsworth had on screen together here were electric.
Rake. That's such a fun name to say. You never told me your name. Is it as much fun?
Extraction 2 is truly a throwback and what popcorn flicks used to be without all the preaching and politics needlessly inserted into them. If you're even remotely a fan of those great action movies of the 80s and 90s, you'll want to catch this one soon and then probably watch it again. Or don't. I am not the boss of you.